The sky above the alien jungle was burning with fire as the human ship broke through the clouds. Smoke followed like a trail of blood across the red sky. The ground below shook as the ship crashed into the thick forest trees, snapped like matchsticks. Flames danced around broken metal inside. The wreck, a human soldier, lay still, his body hurt, his armor cracked, his face pale. Far away, hidden behind thick blue leaves, a pair of golden eyes watched in silence. She had seen this before. Fire in the sky, metal beasts falling, but this one was different. This one was not attacking. This one was bleeding. Zira, the last widow of her kind, took a step closer. Her heart was beating fast. Fear lived inside her. Since the war, she had lost everything. Her family, her village, her mate. Humans had taken it all, but this soldier, he looked broken. He was not holding a weapon. He was not standing proud. He was on the ground, half buried in the dirt. She saw blood on his hand, and blood meant pain. And pain meant he was not a threat. Zira moved closer, slow, careful. Her feet made no sound on the jungle floor. The birds had stopped singing, even the wind was quiet. She stood beside him, now close enough to touch. She could hear him breathing slow. Weak, she could smell fire oil and death. Her fingers trembled as she reached for him. Her skin glowed softly, a gift from her people, a power she never wanted to use again. But now it called to her. The human groaned, his eyes twitched, she froze, but he did not wake. She leaned in, her lips near his ear, her voice soft like rain. "You're hurt, human, let me heal you." She placed her hands on his chest. A warm light spread from her palms. The wounds on his body began to close. The blood stopped, the skin began to knit. The glow grew brighter, and then his eyes opened. They were blue like the ocean in her grandmother's stories. They stared at her, not with hate, not with fear, but with confusion, and something else, something like wonder. He tried to speak, but no words came, only a sound, soft and Bracensera pulled back. Her heart raced. She stepped away, but he did not move. He looked at her hands, the glow now fading. He looked at her face, and she saw the question in his eyes. Why would you help Mesh? Did not answer, she could not. She turned her back to him and whispered to the trees. I don't know. Above them the clouds began to shift. A distant hum filled the air. More ships, more humans, or worse, Asira looked back at the man he was trying to sit up, failing. She knew what was coming. They would find him, they would find her, and they would destroy her world. Again she took a deep breath. The choice was already made. She reached out her hand. Come with me, she said. The man hesitated, then he took her hand. Together they disappeared into the jungle as the sky rumbled with the sound of more machines. The forest was alive with colors unknown to earth. Leaves glowed with soft light, flowers shimmered like stars, and the air smelled like wild fruit and ancient rain. But the human did not see any of it. He only felt pain deep in his bones, burning in his chest. Every breath was a fight, every step was a war. Sira walked ahead, silent like a shadow. She did not speak, but she listened. Every crack of a branch, every whisper of wind. She knew this place. She had lived here since the end of everything. This jungle was her home, her prison, and now her only ally behind her. The human stumbled again. She turned just in time to catch him. Her arms were strong, but her heart shook. His skin was hot, his body heavy. He was dying again. They reached a cave hidden by hanging vines, a place untouched by war, a place known only to her people. She pulled the vines aside, motioned him in. He obeyed, not with trust, but with no other choice. The inside was warm, lit by blue crystals growing from the walls. Soft grass covered the floor. The air inside hummed with strange energy. Sira helped him lie down. He tried to speak, but she raised her handrest. She said. Her voice was low, calm, but carried something strong, something old. She moved to a corner of the cave, picked up a bowl carved from stone. Inside was a thick liquid, green and gold. She had made it weeks ago for no reason, just instinct. Now it had purpose. She dipped her fingers in, then pressed them against the human side. He cried out, but not in pain. The liquid spread like fire and ice, and the wound beneath began to change. The torn skin closed slowly, muscles tightened, bones aligned. Sira's breath grew heavy. Each healing took part of her, a piece of her life, but she gave it freely, not because he was human, but because he was broken. He looked at her, eyes wide, not with fear, but with something else, like a question that had no words. He reached for her hand, but stopped, unsure if he was allowed. She looked down at him, his skin covered in sweat, his lips dry, and whispered again. You are safe here for now. He nodded, slow, weak, but grateful. The silence between them was full, not empty, like two songs playing at once, slowly learning each other's rhythm. He closed his eyes, finally able to sleep. Sira sat by the entrance watching the jungle, listening to its secrets. The trees told her things the wind warned her. She knew more would come. Humans. Hunters' machines, they always came. Her fingers still glowed a faint shimmer in the dark. She looked at them, remembered the last time she used them. It was for her mate, but it was too late then. Now maybe this time it mattered. Behind her the human stirred. In his sleep, murmuring names, memories. Pain. Sira did not turn, but she listened. He called for someone, a brother, a friend, someone lost. She closed her eyes, and in the darkness of her mind, she saw her village. She saw the fire, the screams, the ships. The soldiers. She saw herself running, hiding, surviving, and now he was here, a soldier too, but not like them. Different. She opened her eyes, the jungle still there, still watching. A soft light blinked in the trees, then another, then a third. Her breath caught. Scouts, not hers, not human, something worse. She stood, moved to the man, shook him gently. Wake up, she said. His eyes opened. He sat up fast, grabbing his side, but found no pain, only a scar. He looked at her. She nodded. Once danger, he understood. He tried to stand, but his legs trembled. She pulled his arm over her shoulder. Together they moved out of the cave. The vines closed behind them as if they never existed. The forest was darker now, the stars above hidden, but Sira moved without fear. Her path was clear. Her goal was simple: protect him. Not because he was human, but because he had not hurt her. He had not fired. He had not shouted. He had listened. And in this world that meant everything, as they moved through the jungle, Sira whispered words in her language, soft, ancient. The trees answered. A root lifted a stone, shifted, a path opened. The human looked around, amazed. He had seen technology, warships, weapons, but never this, never life obeying someone's voice. He looked at her again, not as a soldier, but as something else, something new. She felt his eyes, and for the first time in years, she did not feel alone behind them. The soft hum grew louder, but they kept moving hand in hand into the unknown. The chasse sound echoed through the forest like thunder without clouds, a sound that did not belong to the wind or the trees or the wild beasts. It was metal, cold, sharp, angry. It came from above, from machines that hunted without feeling. Zara stopped moving, her ears tilted slightly. Her eyes narrowed. She knew that sound. She had heard it before, long ago, on the day her world ended. The human beside her looked up. His hand moved to his side. His fingers touched the place where his armor once carried a tracker. His eyes went wide. With fear, he remembered the signal was still active. He was not alone. They had found him. Sira grabbed his arm, her grip strong. No words, only action. She pulled him forward into the deeper part of the jungle, where no light touched the ground, where the air was thick with mist and the roots rose like walls. The human followed, his breath heavy, his heart loud. He could not see where she was leading, but he trusted her now, not with logic, but with something older, something that grows in the silence. Between fear and hope behind them, the sound grew louder, closer. The machines were near, silver drones with spinning wings, red lights for eyes. They moved like insects, but faster, without rest, without mercy. One flew past, missed them by a breath. Sira pulled the human into a hollow tree. They pressed close, still silent. The drone paused, hovered, scanned the area, then flew on. Sira waited, counted heartbeats, 10, 20, 50, then moved again. They reached the edge of a cliff. Below, a river flowed wild and deep. She looked at the human, then at the water, then back at the sky. A drone appeared, no warning, just light and noise and motion. It saw them. It screamed a high sound like tearing metal. Sira stepped in front of the human, raised her hand, and from her palm a beam of light shot out, hitting the drone. It sparked, jerked, fell. More would come. She looked at the river again, then at the human. Jump, she said. He hesitated just for a breath, then jumped. The cold hit like a wall. The river pulled him down, spun him, dragged him. He fought, reached, broke the surface. Then she landed beside him, eyes focused, arms moving like waves. They swam together, away from the machines, away from the noise. The river took them far, miles in minutes, then pushed them to the shore. The human crawled to dry ground, coughing, shaking. Alavesera followed, her hair wet, her skin glowing faintly. She looked back at the water. No drones, but it was not over. The human sat up, touched the ground, soft, wet, safe for now. Sira walked in circles, thinking, feeling they would track the river. They always did. We must go, she said. He nodded, stood, his body tired, but his spirit stronger. They moved again, this time slower, but smarter, using the forest, using silence. They reached a place where the trees were blue, where the ground hummed. Sira stopped. Here, she said, we hide here. The human looked around. There was no shelter, no wall, just trees. Placed her hand on the trunk of the tallest tree, whispered something in her language. A door appeared, not made of wood or metal, but of light. She stepped in, he followed inside. It was warm, dark, safe. She sank to the floor, her strength fading. The human looked at her, saw the way she breathed, slow, shallow. You saved me, he said. She looked up. Tired eyes. No, she whispered. We saved each other. He sat beside her, back to the glowing wall, listened to the silence outside. The forest healed its wounds. The drones searched, but found nothing. The jungle had hidden its children again inside the tree. Sarah closed her eyes, her body weak, her energy low. The human stayed awake, watching, listening, guarding in the darkness. A bond grew, not from words, not from promises, but from something older. Something real, a human and an alien running from war, running from fear, learning to trust. The night passed slowly, each minute a gift, each breath a choice, and when the sun returned, they were still there, still together, still alive. The bond, the light inside the tree faded slowly as morning touched the jungle. A soft golden glow filtered through cracks in the bark. Sarah opened her eyes, her body still heavy, her breath still shallow, but the danger had passed for now. The human was already awake, sitting near the doorway of light, his eyes scanning the forest. His hands resting on his knees, silent, still, but not afraid. He heard her stir, turned to face her, his eyes calm. His armor was gone, his body wrapped in leaves and cloth, strange, yet useful, crafted by her hands during the night. She looked at him not as an enemy, not as a stranger, but as someone who had become real, not through words, but through pain, through running, through surviving. He offered her water, carried in a hollow fruit shell. She took it, nodded, once drank. The silence between them was peaceful, not heavy, like the silence of a shared memory, not spoken but understood. Sarah moved to a small circle in the floor, placed her fingers on it. The circle lit up, revealing a map, not of stars but of trees, caves, hidden paths. This was her world, her prison, her secret. She had never shown it to another, but now she shared. Eyes leaned closer, watched with care, asked no questions, only listened. She pointed to a mountain far west, hidden behind clouds and rivers. Inside it, a gate, an ancient place of her people, safe, sacred, forgotten by time and war. She looked at him, eyes serious. We go there, she said. He nodded again. Yes, he replied. No. Why no when just yes? They packed what little they had, fruit, water, her healing herbs, his broken communicator, and a blade made from crystal. As they stepped outside, the jungle greeted them. The air was fresh, wet with dew. Birds sang strange songs. Creatures moved behind branches, watching, wondering. They walked without speaking, feet quiet, eyes alert. After an hour they reached a fallen tree, wide and hollow. Sarah stopped, touched the bark, closed her eyes. She remembered something. A hand once held hers at this same tree. A voice had laughed, called her brave, called her strong. That voice was gone, now lost in smoke and fire. She opened her eyes. He was watching her, not asking, just waiting. She walked again, this time slower. At noon they stopped by a pool. The water was clear, cold. The human knelt beside it, saw his reflection scarred, different. He touched his face, then looked at her. Do I still look like a soldier? He asked. She did not answer. Instead, she knelt beside him, cupped water in her hands, and poured it over his head. He laughed, soft, surprised. The sound echoed, bounced off trees, and for a moment the jungle felt lighter. She smiled just a little, not wide, not loud, but real. They ate in silence, sharing a fruit with red juice, sweet and sharp. As the sun dipped lower, they walked again. The trees grew taller, the path harder, but they kept moving. When the night came, they found a cave near the river, small, safe. He lit a small fire, using a trick he learned in training. She watched, impressed, but said nothing. The fire danced, their shadows moved on the cave walls. He looked at her. Why do you help me? He asked again. She stared at the flames, then at him. Because you are still human, and I have not seen a real human in a long time. He nodded, understood something in her words, not everything, but enough. She took a piece of stone, drew shapes on the cave floor. A village, a tower, fire, a ship, a child. He watched each line, a story, each image a scar. Then he drew to a planet, a home, a brother, a goodbye. Their stories crossed on the stone lines, touching, merging. She looked at him again. He looked at her too. Survivors, two enemies now, something else outside? The stars blinked, the jungle slept inside. They sat close, not touching but not apart. The fire dimmed their eyes, closed, not just from tiredness, but from something older, something safe. Tomorrow would be hard, the path would be longer, the machines would return, but tonight they rested, not as human and alien, but as two souls who no longer feared the silence, the betrayal, the Sky above the mountain turned red as the sun began to fall behind the cliffs. The wind carried the scent of ash and old metal somewhere far behind. Machines still searched, still hunted, but for now the world was quiet. Syra stood at the edge of the ridge watching the horizon. Her eyes searched the sky, waiting, sensing. The human walked beside her, silent, calm, but his mind was not still. He looked down at a broken device in his hand, his old communicator, part of his suit, cracked. Burnt, but not dead. He had fixed it in pieces, slow, careful, while she slept, not because he wanted to escape, but because part of him still hoped for rescue. He never meant to call them, but the signal reached the stars anyway. Now they were coming. He had not told her. She turned toward him, her voice quiet. They will come soon, her words not a question, but a truth. He met her eyes and nodded. There was no point in hiding it. Now they will not understand, she said. They will see me as a threat. I will stop them, he replied, but she did not smile. The sun touched the mountain edge, casting long shadows on the stone. An hour passed, then another, then the sound came, not like the drones, not like machines. It was a ship, a human ship, small, fast, gray like smoke. It landed near the base of the ridge. The earth shook, birds fled from the tree. Syra stepped back, her hands ready, her eyes cold. Three figures stepped out, armed faces hidden behind black glass. One called his name, Ray. The sound made the jungle echo. Ray stepped forward, slow, his hands open, his voice steady. I'm here, he said. The soldiers lowered their weapons just slightly. One removed his helmet. A woman, short hair, sharp eyes. She smiled. We found you, she said. Ray looked back at Syra, then at the soldiers. This is Syra. She saved me. She is not a threat. The woman glanced at the alien. Her face did not change, only her hand moved slow toward her belt. No, Ray stepped between them. You do not touch her. You do not take her. The other two soldiers raised their weapons, not aimed, but ready. She is not part of the mission, the woman said. She is part of me now, Ray replied. Silence fell, then a click, small, sharp, a signal from the ship. A metal net launched, fast, shining straight toward Siraj. Moved, but not fast enough. The net wrapped around her, glowing tight, burning her skin. She cried out, not in pain, but in anger. Ray turned, his heart split in two. Let her go, he shouted, but they did know. Reached for the nearest soldier, knocked the weapon away, grabbed the control device from his belt, smashed it against a rock. The net flickered, then vanished. Syra fell to her knees, her breath heavy, her hands smoking. The soldiers raised their weapons again, this time aimed. Ray stood in front of her, his voice low. You shoot her, you shoot me. The woman hesitated, her eyes cold, her lips tight. We came to save you, not watch you die for one of them, she said. Ray stepped closer. She saved me, she healed me, she fought beside Mesh. Is not one of them. The woman lowered her weapon just an inch. Ray looked back at Syra. She was watching, not angry, not scared, just quiet. He reached for her hand. She took it. Behind them the ship waited, but it no longer looked like rescue. It looked like a cage. He turned to the soldiers. We are not going back, not like this. The woman nodded slowly, then spoke into her. Come, mission failed. The target is lost. The soldiers turned, walked back to the ship. Ray held Syra close. The engines roared, dust rose. Then the ship lifted, vanished into the sky. Silence returned. Syra leaned against him, her voice soft. You chose Ray looked at her, his voice the same. I chose what felt right. They sat on the ridge, watching stars appear. No more hiding, no more running, only forward together. The sacrifice. The sky broke open with lightning as the mountain groaned beneath their feet. Rain fell without warning, sharp, cold, fast. The world around them seemed to cry out as if it knew what was coming. Ray held Syra close as they climbed, his hands bleeding from stone, her steps slow, her breath thin. She was hurt not from the net, but from the healing she gave, from the fight she never asked for. Her light had grown dim, but her will burned brighter than ever. Above them clouds swirled around. The Pika voice called inside the storm, not with sound, but with memory. Her people had spoken of this place, the temple of the first light, where the old power lived, where lost things could be remembered, where broken things could be made whole. Again Ray looked up at the mountain, its shape like a sword stabbed into the sky. His body ached, his heart heavy, but he did not stop. Syra stumbled once, her knees hitting stone. Ray turned, lifted her in his arms. She did not protest, her eyes closed, her head on his chest. She trusted him now, not with words, but with her life. The wind screamed as they reached the gate, tall, carved with symbols that pulsed when touched. Ray placed her down, gently stepped toward the stone. He raised his hand. The Gate did not open. Sira spoke a single word in her tongue, soft broken, the symbols lit like stars, the stone cracked. The door slid open. Inside was silence, thick, ancient, sacred. The walls were black stone veined with silver light. At the center stood a pillar shaped like flame, but solid. Waiting ray carried her to the base. She opened her eyes once more, her voice barely a whisper. You must place your hand, not mine only. He did not understand. This is your temple, your people, your power. She looked at him, eyes shining with tears. The light listens to truth, not blood. Ray stepped forward, placed his hand on the pillar. Nothing happened then. Everything happened. Light exploded, but not blinding. Music rose, but not loud. The pillar pulse sent warmth through his body, not burning, but deep, kind. He felt her pain, her memories, her loneliness, as if it were his own. He felt the war, the screams, the silence after, and then he saw himself falling from the sky, bleeding, dying, watched by golden eyes in the dark. The light asked one question: do you give what cannot return? He did not speak, only nodded. The light entered him through skin, through soul, a fire of peace. A storm of stillness behind him. Syrah gasped, her body lifted from the floor, wrapped in light. Her wounds closed, her color returned. Ray fell to his knees, his strength pouring out, his breath short, his hands trembling. She landed gently. Her feet touched the ground, her light bright, her body whole. She ran to him, held his face. Ray, wake up, look at me. His eyes opened, slow, heavy, but he smiled. You are healed, he whispered. You gave too much, she cried. He laughed, not loud but real. It was mine to give. The temple began to dim. The pillar sank into the ground, the gate closed behind them. She held him, not as a healer, not as a protector, but as something more. Outside, the storm had passed. The sky cleared, stars returned. They walked down the mountain, slow, silent together. Each step a promise. Not every wound is visible, not every gift can be seen, but some are felt forever, and some are worth everything. The end or beginning. The wind was gentle now, not wild, not afraid. It moved through the trees like an old song, soft, calm. It touched the faces of two travelers walking side by side, their steps slow, their shadows long. The mountain behind them now quiet, its secrets safe. Once more Syrah looked ahead, her eyes no longer cold, no longer heavy, but clear, alive. She had not felt this light in many seasons, not since the fire took her world, not since silence became her only friend. Ray walked beside her, his body weaker, his breath shorter, but his spirit strong. He did not speak, he only smiled, like someone who had found something lost. They reached the river again, its water now clear, its voice gentle. They sat beside it, let the silence hold them. Syrah reached into the water, cupped it in her hands, and watched it slip through her fingers. She looked at Ray. He watched her, no words, no need. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small object, a metal tag scratched burnt, his brother's name still on it. He placed it in her hand, closed her fingers around the end. Once she understood, loss meets loss, pain meets pain, but healing needs truth, and truth had lived between them. She took the tag, held it to her heart. Her glow returned for a moment, just enough to show she cared. Above them the sky opened with light, not fire, not ships, but stars. A sound came from the jungle, a different sound, not machines, not soldiers, but life figures appeared, not human, not enemy, but her kind. Few, silent, watching. Syrah stood, stepped forward, her voice rose, not loud, but strong. I am Syrah, daughter of the broken flame, keeper of the hidden path, healer of the wounded sky. They listened, eyes wide, hearts full. She turned to Ray, held out her hand. He took it. The others did not run, did not fear. They came closer, touched his arm, looked into his face. One spoke, young, curious. Why him? Syrah answered, because he saw me, not what I was, but who I am. The jungle breathed again, its roots deep, its leaves bright. A space opened between the trees, a trail of light. Syrah looked at Ray. Do you want to go back? She asked. He looked toward the sky, then back at her. No, she smiled. They walked the path together, her people following, not behind, but beside. A place waited beyond the trees, not war, not home, but something new. Ray held her hand, felt her warmth, her pulse real strong. He knew he had lost much, his ship, his squad, his past, but he had found something more, a reason to stop fighting, a reason to live. They reached a valley filled with soft lights, homes made of crystal and tree, music in the air, no wires, no metal, only peace. Children ran to meet them, laughed, danced, welcomed the stranger, welcomed the healer. Ray looked around, his breath slow, his eyes soft. He sat under a glowing tree, Syrah beside him, her head on his shoulder, her hand in his. They Did not need words, a voice rose in the distance, a song not of war, not of loss, but of beginning. The stars watched from above silent. Witnesses to a bond? Born not in peace but in pain, the wind moved again, carrying the words that started it. All you are hurt, human, let me heal you, and now he had healed her too not. With power, not with light, but with presence, with choice, with heart, the end was never the end, only the door to something more.